Good morning, everyone. Today I am here for the students of class 9. I am going to teach one poem of your English literature textbook, Wind. Wind by Subramania Bharati. Right? So, before I begin with the explanation, I would like to briefly add here about the poet, who this poet was. Students, here you must learn that Subramania Bharati was a Tamil writer, poet and a journalist. He was a Tamil writer, poet and a journalist. Okay, and he was born on 11 December 1882. 11 December 1882 and departed for his heavenly abode. He died on 11 September 1921. 1921. Okay, and this poet was also popularly known as Mahakavi Bharati, and he was a pioneer of modern Tamil poetry. Though this poem was written in Tamil language, but it was translated into English language by A.K. Ramanujan. By whom? By A.K. Ramanujan. He was also a very famous Kannada and English poet, mainly known for his translation works from Tamil to English. Okay, so let's come to the explanation now of this poem. Come to stanza 1 first of all. These are the first 4 lines of the poem, right? First 4 lines. What here the poet says? Wind, come softly. Wind, come softly. Don't break the shutters of the windows. Don't break the shutters of the windows. Don't scatter the papers. Don't scatter the papers. Don't throw down the books on the shelf. Don't throw down the books on the shelves. Okay. So in these 4 lines, here what the poet is doing, he is making a very gentle appeal to the wind, that whenever you come, make sure that you come very softly, you come very quietly. Please do not be very violent. Please don't be very terrific. That's what he is saying here. Okay, and he is also asking the wind not to break down the shutters of the windows and not to scatter the papers. Whenever the wind comes, what happens in the poet's house? All the sheets of papers, all the books and notebooks kept on the shelf, they all get scattered. Okay, they all are thrown down off the shelves, right? That's what here the poet is making a very gentle appeal to the wind, that please whenever you come very softly. Okay, come to next lines. There you look what you did. There you look what you did. You threw them all down. You threw them all down. Here the poet is pointing to all the activities, all the mess created by the wind. Okay, you tore the pages of the books. You brought rain again. Look at the pages of the books and notebooks. Look at what you have done. Look at the total menace on the floor in my house. You have torn the books. You have torn the pages of all the books. Just to have a look at it. Okay, and that's not enough. Thereafter what happens? The wind brings with it a heavy rain. Okay, you are very clever at poking fun at weaklings. You are very clever at poking fun at weaklings. Here you may say that the poet is now cursing the wind, that you are not very clever, you are not very strong. If you think that I am stronger than human beings, I am stronger than these non-living objects, I can do anything that I want. I can throw down the books from the shelf. I can break down the shutters of the windows and the doors. Then You are wrong here. You are not very smart and you are not very strong, because you only attack on weaklings. You only attack on things which are very weak. Okay, attack on whom? Who are not very strong, right? Frail crumbling houses. Your attack is only frail, means weak here. Frail crumbling houses. Crumbling houses means houses which can be broken down easily. Weak houses. Crumbling doors, crumbling rafters. What is the meaning of rafters here? Rafters are the beams. Rafters are the beams on which the roof of the house is there kept. Or you may say the rafters are the beams that bear the complete load of the roof in houses. Okay. Here the poet is mainly talking about the wooden houses. Okay, where people adjust one very strong beams to bear the complete load of the roof. Crumbling wood, crumbling bodies and crumbling lives. Crumbling bodies and crumbling lives, crumbling hearts. And people who are very weak in their hearts, very weak at their hearts, that's what you may say. Okay, and those who have very weak bodies, who are not very strong, who are not very healthy, the wind god winnows and crushes them all. The attack of wind god is on these things only on the weak people, only on the unhealthy mankind, only on the non-living, very weak objects, right? Next, what is there? He won't do what you tell him, so come, let's build strong homes, let's join our doors firmly, okay, and practice to form the body. In these lines here, the poet is saying that it's of no use asking anything him to do or making a gentle appeal to the wind. It will not listen to anybody. Okay, so it's better what to do? It's better let's build our homes very strong so that it can defy the violent nature of the wind. Let's joint the doors firmly. Make sure while building the house that our windows and doors in the house are very strongly made and very strongly joined, so that it can have no harm at all by the wind, no matter how strong and how firm and how violent it is. Practice to form the body, make the heart steadfast. And here the poet is not talking about only making the things very strong, making the windows and the doors and the rooftop house very strong, but he is talking to take care of one's health. Here the poet is saying that people also must be very much concerned about their health. They must make sure that they are very healthy and they can live a good life. Okay, they cannot be defeated by the wind. Do this and the wind will be friends with us. If we do this, okay, do this means if we have a very strong house, okay, doors and windows of the house are very strong and we people are very healthy, very strong, then wind cannot do anything to us. It may not harm us in any way, rather it will be a very good friend to us, to all mankind. That's what we may say here. Okay, let's come next. The wind blows out weak fires. Okay, the wind blows out weak fires and makes strong fires roar and flourish. Here in these last 4 lines of the poem, the poet is talking about all the merits and all the demerits of the wind. Here what he is saying that it can blow out the weak fire. The fire, when it is very weak, it can be blown out, it can be put down by the blowing wind. Okay, but when the wind is very strong, when the fire is very strong, what the blowing air or the blowing wind can do? It can make it roar and flourish. The meaning of flourish is here to grow. more and more. Okay, that's what here the wind can do. Okay, when the fire is very strong, it can grow more and more when the wind blows. His friendship is good. We praise him, okay, every day. Here the poet talks about the friendship of the wind. He is saying that the friendship of wind is very good. Okay, and we must pray for him every day. Right? So this was the total explanation of the poem. Now let's take a look at some poetic devices and the rhyme scheme. Sorry, we don't have any rhyme scheme here because this whole poem has been written in blank verse. Blank verse is the one when we don't get any pattern, any proper pattern of writing, or we don't have any so-called rhyming words in the poem. The poem is said to be written in blank verse. So this poem has been written in blank verse. So that's needless to talk about any rhyme scheme. Here we have mainly two poetic devices, and they are, one is personification and the other is anaphora. Personification and anaphora. Personification is what? This is a poetic device, okay, when non-living things or non-living objects, ideas or thoughts are portrayed in literature as human beings. Okay, then such technique in literature or in art is known as personification. So here at many places the wind has been treated as human being, as if it is a human being. Okay, so at all those places in the poem wherever the wind has been treated as a human being, okay, at all those places we get the use of this particular poetic device, personification. Like for example 5 to 8, come to the lines 5 to 8 here. Okay, so here, you tore the pages of the book, you brought rain again. Okay, it seems that here the poet is talking to a human being. The wind is not a human being, but here it has been portrayed as a human being, that in the whole poem the poet is communicating or he is speaking to some human being. And the next is anaphora. What is anaphora? Anaphora is a sort of repetition of the part of sentences, or you may say that is the repetition of phrases or the repetition of words. How? In what way? That is the repetition of same word, or you may say the same phrase, or you may say the part of a line when repeatedly used in the following lines. Okay, in the successive lines of the poem, such sort of technique is known as anaphora. Where do we get the example of anaphora here? Come to first 4 lines. Don't. Okay, so here the word don't has been there repeatedly used in all the 3 lines here. So here we can say that we get the poetic device anaphora here, right? And come to 6th and 7th line. Okay, 6th and 7th line, the word you is there repeatedly used here. So here also we have the example of anaphora. Then crumbling and crumbling. Okay, the word crumbling is there used, okay, in the beginning of the lines there repeatedly. So here also we have the example of anaphora. Okay, this is how we have to go on looking for all poetic devices in a poem. Okay, so my today's session is now over. See you next in my another video. Thanks for watching.